Hello, everyone. We're going to do a quick mic check to make sure everyone can hear us. Let me know how we're sounding, and then we're going to dive
Hello.
into some things.
Hello. I didn't want to leave that awkward silence we did last time, so I was ready to go. Hi, everyone.
And hopefully I'm at a normal volume, but it always changes every week, so we will see.
Yeah, I'm like, how can we get it to not change every week? I haven't figured that out yet.
Oh,
All right, friends, let us know if you can hear us. Liz said, sounds great. All right. Wow. The hard part is over then. James
I
Sorrell
will
said,
say, sorry, just Graham is lower to me than Africa is.
that's what
I don't know.
James Sorrell just wrote. They put, wow, look at that fancy microphone Africa has. Graham is a little soft. So, Graham, you might have to pull something up for you.
A second, it'll be my normal Windows settings thing where it's decided to turn my microphone down randomly on its own. Thank you, Google Chrome.
I can hear you okay for some reason.
Right, well, I'm about to go very loud, so be careful. I'll talk softly and then go louder. Right,
Okay.
I'm at full volume now.
Ooh, loud.
Oh, yeah, you
Let
are a
me.
lot better
How is,
now.
how is that? Is that more?
I can hear you a lot better now, but we should probably hear Africa talk in comparison to you.
How do I sound? All right, we're at the same level. We asked because when you watch the replay, you can really tell the difference between like the vocal sounds versus live. Trying to make it sound good for our peeps who are going to watch us later. But it seems like uh, Xerxiac said you sound decidedly Africa. I don't know what that means, but if it's not a typo, I like it. Africa and Graham sound the same, but Dorland sounds a little soft. So
That's
Dorland,
because I need to upgrade my mic, probably. I'll scoot closer, and then if I turned something on this, did it help? I forget. No, I don't think I changed this from last week, though. Is that better?
yeah, it's pretty close to your face.
I know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to bonk my face on it at least once during the stream, so get ready for that, guys.
Xerxes said, whatever you did, you're now quieter. I don't know if that was something you did earlier or not, though. Um, hmm. Is your gain all the way up on the bottom, the knob? Oh, Xerxes said, I can always turn them up in Discord. Let's see. How do I do that?
Oh, wait, maybe it wasn't.
Oh, no.
I think
Now
you're
you're
right.
way lower.
Oh,
Right click the name. Okay.
okay. And I went back down to
Oh,
the
now
other
you're
side of
you're
things.
very loud. Okay. I see the user volume. Thank you. Well, y'all
Okay, I
see it
came up.
too. Ooh, loud.
Sorry.
I know this is me. I'm messing around with it. Xerxes coming through with a good
Always.
example. I don't know if you're too loud now though, but all right. Last time, my friends, how do we sound? Do we sound similar?
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
All right, now Dorland's front and center. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I hope that that's okay. Let us know if the volume is a little weird as we get started. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna move this away so that doesn't show. Oops. How do I get it back to normal? There we go. Okay, so
You've still
today,
got the.
what'd you say?
Ignore me. Delay on the stream caught up. It's fine.
All right, I think we're good to go now. I think. Hopefully, we sound the same. All right, so let's get into it. Today, we're talking about part two of ARIA. And we are all a little under the weather, a little tired today. Dorlin is getting a little sick, and I have been working all day, so we're a little lower energy and a little more scattered than usual. But that's okay because we're still going to do at least a review. We're going to do a little bit of a review, and Dorlin's going to show us something on Replit using ARIA with Graham's help. So let's go ahead and just jump into the review. And get some of these questions answered. So this is going to require some participation in the chat if you don't mind. Cersei said mad coding skills. Yeah, we're going to show you those.
Oh
I'm too
dear.
tired to I'm too tired to code, so this is going to be all Dorlin. But let me go ahead and get started with some of these questions, and let's see who can answer the most of them. First, the most easiest question. I think is the easiest because hopefully you know it. What is ARIA? You can answer that by telling us
Really?
what the acronym stands for or just what it does. What's up, Matt Campos?
Hi, boss. Yay. Welcome back.
Uh oh, I have a echo.
Oh, hang on. Is it me? Talk and tell me if you hear your echo.
Hello. No.
Oh, weird.
And I had heard it hoot, but I don't.
Yeah. Liz said adds functionality to HTML for screen readers. Acronyms suck. Okay. Anybody else? Does anybody remember the acronym? Matt Campbell said ARIA, accessible rich internet application question mark. You are correct. I think that yes, James Sorrell got it right. Perfect. Xerxes said singing style from the olden times, also accessible rich internet applications. Absolutely. I don't like accessible rich internet applications. It just really confuses me. I don't get it. Like why? But okay. I accept. All right. Now that we got that weird acronym out the way, we know what it is. Why do we use it? Oh, James Sorrell said it was named by IBM. I didn't know that.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
All right. Why do we use ARIA? We kind of answered that a little bit by talking about what it is, but give me a solid example. Mad Compo said, I think it comes from a time when web applications were dull, plain text only pages. Nowadays, everything is rich. Okay. Accessible, rich. Oh my gosh, it just doesn't do it for me, but all right. Xerxes said, definitely starting to show its age. Sorry, go ahead, Graham.
Oh no, I was saying they really wanted it to spell something. It's the same as most things where they bung a word in there because they were like, Aya? Aya doesn't work. Let's put an R in there. Aria, there we go. Or Araya, or however, because we never agreed how we're saying it. So yeah, the rich was just to make the acronym work.
That makes sense, honestly.
The
Uh,
backronym or something.
Cersei said, definitely starting to show its age. Rich content is pretty much just content that isn't just static text link, which was super cool in the Hoopy Fruits of 2005. I recall that's when I first learned HTML and CSS and used to do everyone's MySpace page. Boy, I was like 16 or 15. I don't know how old I was. I was in my teens, making money off of MySpace pages and not knowing that I was coding. It was great. All right. Graham, tell us, why do we use ARIA?
Nowadays, we use it when there isn't enough semantic information in the HTML we've got, so it provides extra information to assistive technology that we can't give it any other way at the moment, unfortunately. So that's what it's there for. But we use it as little as possible. That is the general rule. I've kind of probably ruined one of your future questions, but
Oh my
there you
gosh.
go.
Stop it.
I
That was my
know.
next question.
Just in one of those moods.
Um, JM Sorrell said it's used to provide additional information for assistive technology users when they engage with dynamic slash rich interactive actions. Yes. Liz said,
That's the problem with that. It's the right description from where it started, but like we'll use labels for landmarks and stuff which are not interactive things. So it's kind of like we've moved on yet again. The rich part showing its age. It doesn't necessarily have to be interactive for us to use ARIA.
right. Speaking of which, hello, schizophrenic web developer. Interesting name. First time in chat. Welcome to our web accessibility study group. They asked, what are landmarks? As if they read your mind. What are
I
landmarks,
can
Graham?
I can take that one. So all they are elements on a page or something described with ARIA that assistive technology can then find those and they put them into lists and they are ways to navigate round. So a landmark is things like well, you can consider headings landmarks, but they're not technically. But the main things are things like your nav element, your section. I had summary in my head, then couldn't get rid of it. Section element, footer, header, things like that. These are all things that appear in certain lists for assistive technology. And so that means that they can jump between sections of the page, get an idea of what the page looks like, layout, sort of, where the information is laid out and where it's available. So it's to assist with navigation and good for SEO stuff. But that's always secondary in these conversations. And bear that in mind. Secondary is SEO, not the first thing you do.
Xerxes said, and I like this one, they are essentially semantic signposts. Semantic signpost. Nice. All
That
right.
Like that.
Everyone in the chat, please participate with this one so that anyone new here gets the picture. What is the first rule of ARIA? We already said it. We gave you the answer. What is the first rule of ARIA? Thank you. Heather Dice, Liz, James Sorrell, and Xerxes all said don't use ARIA. The first rule of ARIA is don't use ARIA. Use it as little as possible. Graham, why?
because you can cause an awful lot of problems with it. Ironically, you make things worse with ARIA. So you kind of have to understand how pieces mix together. And secondly, you should prefer to use the semantic HTML elements we've got and native components, inputs, etc. Always try and use native stuff and adjust them to your needs first. ARIA is your last line of defense. And your last problem is, surprisingly, support for ARIA isn't fantastic. So certain things that you might want to use, you plug them on there, and half the screen readers don't support them. So it's a minefield that that's why you use it as your last resort, sort of thing.
Yep. Schizo web developer said, is Wave evaluation extension for Chrome good to check websites with for accessibility? I would love to answer this because I was actually talking about that today. Um, and the answer is if you're like new to web accessibility, and I'll let everyone answer this here because I think everyone has a kind of a different approach to things. But my answer about Wave is I think it's a good tool for like someone who's new to accessibility who just wants to see what comes up. But one thing to keep in mind is for any automated tool, you're only going to get about 40% of what's wrong with the page because you need to manually test it using assistive technology like screen readers and also using the keyboard. So, keyboard accessibility, I don't know. I'm just making up numbers at this point, but I feel like keyboard accessibility has to be at least 50-40% of trying to figure out whether or not a page is accessible. If you're not using a keyboard to get around and like navigate, then those are the things that Wave is not really going to find. But Wave and things like DQ and all the other ones that we can ask dev tools, right? They'll find like whether or not you have your H1s, H6, your like headings and stuff like that. Whether you have alt text, like really quick things. And what I was talking about today was how I no longer really use them, but I do sometimes, and I only use them just for fun to see if I found everything, like if I missed anything, and see if like it'll pop up. But Dorlin, do you have you used any of those tools like Wave or anything like that?
Not really. I did try to use some of the Axe dev tools at one point, but it was like kind of above my pay grade at that point for what I was doing. It was first when I was getting into things. I was gifted a year subscription and dabbled with it just ever so slightly. But really, I have no experience with those. I do all manual testing over here.
Right. I wonder how accessible the tools themselves are. Haven't tried to use them with the screen reader or anything like that.
I don't know. I would assume Axe tools are. I don't know though. Sorry, Tank just busted in the door. I have to close that real fast.
Oh, there you go. He's on your bed. I could like see him. What's up, Tank? That's my buddy right there.
Hello.
Graham,
Hanging
do you
out, looking cool.
use automated tools? And if so, which ones do you use? Because you're the more seasoned one here.
It's an interesting one because obviously with the new role, I'm currently trying to explore what I'd actually use. So I used to use one called Pally, P-A-1-1-Y. That essentially just puts Axe as something you can call from the command line easily.
Oh,
Um, and
PA11Y.
then I use, yeah, P-A-1-1-Y. And there's so many wrappers around that for whatever language you're in. Nearly every language, I think, there is a way of using that. And like I said, it's basically got two different options. One, I can't remember which it is, and the other is Axe, and Axe is one of the better ones. So that's from Deck or DQ or however we're saying that one today. Um, and then I tend to use accessibility insights a lot, which although it has automated tests, it also Africa was mentioning the keyboard stuff. The reason I always go for accessibility insights is they have guided tests, so the things that you can't fully automate, they give you assistive tools that make it easier to test things like tab order on a page, what things are and aren't focusable, and things like that. So it kind of guides you through a whole accessibility test and tells you how to perform it. And wherever it can, it gives you little helpers that make life so much easier. So combination of CI/CD stuff, stuff that's completely automated every time you do a build, and then some manual stuff with some little helpers. I think in the new company we use Cypress, so I'm probably going to use something that integrates well with Cypress. But like I said, I'm mid explore at the moment, so I'm not really sure what we're going to be using.
Okay. What are you doing at your new role if you are privy to share?
So at the moment, I'm privy to share. Just at the moment, I'm in learning mode. I've only been there 2 weeks, so not doing much accessibility stuff other than spotting things and going, "Oh, we'll tackle that later. Oh, we'll fix that later." At the moment, I'm just learning how their system works because it's a very interesting and clever adaptation of things like GraphQL and React, but it is nothing like the way you would use them normally. They've added a load of stuff on top, and that means it's all event driven and all very, very granular, which is fantastic, but it's not documented, so we're having to learn the stuff. So it's all hands to the pump at the moment at my side, trying to get my head around that. But yeah, when I do get up and running, I will be implementing accessibility across the company. So start with the website because that's the public facing thing. That way we can start shouting about how we're improving accessibility without people pulling us up on it straight away. And then we start on software stuff, and then we'll work on documents, and then we'll work on everything else. Like we do webinars, we do so much. It's a never-ending role sort of thing. So I've just sort of picked my battles, tackle them one at a time, and eventually get us to a good state, I imagine. But the best thing is everybody's excited about it. So that's what you want, really. If you go into a company doing accessibility, you want them all like, yeah, we want to do this. Just show us how, and don't make our lives a nightmare while you're doing it.
Nice. All right.
That's
That's
cool.
cool. Okay.
Todd with playwright as a suggestion. Ooh, good choice. Yeah, I'll definitely explore that. Thank you.
Oh, snap. Todd Libby's in the house. What's up, Todd?
Hey, hey.
Um, All right, this is for chat and for everyone here on the stream. Give me an example of when you would use ARIA. I want a specific one. Side note, I also saw in the chat someone asking about double navigation, and I want to circle back to that because I think, Graham, you answered it, and that is a really good example of something you'd use ARIA for. But I'll let the chat go ahead and shout out some things that you would use ARIA for. Hey, Wolven. Wolven said forms. Todd said hamburger menus. Oh no, I forgot you and Todd are nemesis. I won't read out everything this time.
Nemesis on hamburger menus or nemesis to each other? I couldn't work out where you were going with that one. Are you trying to get Todd and I to fight again? You know?
Oh man.
Tabs, interesting. Both.
Oh yeah, tabs, right? Because you need to state the state of the tab. Um,
Mm.
Liz said hiding things visually, but having them visual to assistive technology, like skip to main content. Yep.
Liz, you were doing well, but the one thing you picked there was something that we don't need ARIA for. You skip to main content, we can do a clever trick with CSS to hide it off the page when it's not focused, and then when it gets focused, we can pop it into view on the page once someone tabs into the page. So you don't need ARIA for that one. It's a really a good trick, and if we get a chance one time, perhaps we'll do that, because that's a 5 minute quick JS fiddle thing we can do and show people how to do it.
And you
Okay.
wouldn't want that to be completely hidden from everyone. You want the keyboard users who don't have something speaking to them like a screen reader to be able to see that and skip over those links too. And if you added ARIA there, wouldn't it hide it from them too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Liz is spot on. It's amazing for being able to present things to assistive tech that you don't present to everyone else, provided you don't overdo that. It's very good for if you've got custom controls that you've built yourself with lots of keyboard shortcuts. It's great to be able to give an explainer before. I very rarely see people do it, but like being able to say these are the things that we have in this control, so that someone who's using assistive tech can go, oh crap, that's going to interfere with X. I'm going to have to switch into forms mode or something to get around that problem, and also know what the controls are without having to try and discover them the hard way. So I always find that's quite useful.
Right. Todd Libby said carousels, but they are only for carnivals and fairs, not websites. All right. I agree. Hate carousels. Why are they bad for accessibility, though?
Oh God, how long have we got? We said this was going to be a quick stream.
You know what? I say that every single stream because I'm always tired after work, and then I get on the stream and I get energized, and I forget that like 3 hours has passed. So we'll just see. Also, hello, Tanya Bernard. Um,
Mm, okay.
Give us a 1 minute rant on carousels.
No, I'm gonna do the 15-second rant. You know what? First of all, they don't do anything. So every carousel that's ever been written, the only page that gets any clicks on a carousel is the first page. 99% of clicks are on the first page. So you're wasting your time anyway, and they're heavy, and so they slow your website down for no reason. Secondly, they introduce movement onto the page, and you always forget that you need to switch on prefers reduced motion on carousels. So they're going to move around, and anyone with vestibular disorders is just going to be feeling ill or unsettled. Thirdly, you go to click on a button, then the damn carousel moves. That's terrible if someone's got coordination issues, dexterity issues. They're going to get frustrated with your carousel. The other thing is that it's so difficult to actually write a good carousel for assistive technology users. It just is. There's so much ARIA involved because it's not an actual thing that we thought about for the web, and it just tends to be noisy or unusable, one or the other. You're introducing a load of tab stops onto your page for no effing reason at all. Like, no reason at all. You've got a tab for the left, you've got a tab for the right, you've got a tab for each single one of the different screens that's going to pour onto your page. And then you've also got tab to click any buttons in there. I could go on. As you can tell, they are shit. Pardon my French, but yeah, there you go. Don't use carousels, they suck.
All right, thank you. Todd said, Graham, bring it down a few. My ch-
I'm doing it for the children,
Remember the
Todd. I'm doing it
children.
to save the future generations from carousels. I'm doing this for the children.
I hate
Hello.
carousels. I just want to get to the next area on a page when I hear one of those. I'm like, no, how do
I
I get away from
also
you?
I did not know that the first page is always 90% the one that's clicked. That's actually really
Yeah,
good
it's
to
amazing.
know.
It's amazing the statistics of because even I thought, well, maybe 80%. Second page pops up, but no, it's something. It might be 98%, but it's well into the statistical significance of the other pages do not matter, basically.
Todd brought up a really good point as well, which is that carousels should have a pause and a play button so that it's not just automatically scrolling through. And most don't have like the ability for you to stop anything and get to something. It's just
It's a great
what.
suggestion, Todd, but you've just introduced another tab stop in the page. Why would you do that to somebody? Just don't build a carousel. But as you can
Yeah.
tell, I'll die on this one. Todd's with me on this, I know, but like you can't win. Like you either add so many buttons to the thing to try and fix one accessibility issue, you introduce others. It's just it just doesn't work. Full stop. There are better patterns you can use if you want to present lots of information to people, and people can scroll. Just use the length of the page. People do scroll. It's a lie that they don't scroll.
Yeah. Xerxes said carousel should have a pause button, a permanent one that just stops uses altogether, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah,
They're kind of
exactly.
like
Do you know what
a,
that's called? It's called a picture.
indeed, with alt text,
That's what it's called.
please.
So that's what you should have instead.
Um, Carousels belong in the same category as the other thing I like to rant about, which is making forms not fancy, not adding dumb style to forms. Same thing, like, why? Just give us the picture. We'll scroll through it. It's fine. Uh, Todd said, I once worked for a company that wanted to do timers in each card in the carousel, the card being timed and the image in the card being timed. People overthink carousels. Carousels are a crime against humanity. And there you have it. We're going to move on from carousels. I hope everyone leaves here knowing make regular forms with no crazy style choices, and also don't use carousels. That's our stream, everyone. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Anyways,
I have one more thing to add there because we're talking about why is Aria dangerous? Carousels are probably the prime example of where Aria goes horribly wrong because people are like, oh, I should inform screen reader users when the carousel image change. So they use an Aria Live region to tell them on slide 2, on slide 3. You need to label everything up in weird ways that isn't semantic, so you have to use Aria to do it. It just,
mm-hmm.
that's, if you want to find somewhere where you are likely to see Aria errors, find a carousel. Another reason to avoid them. They're just the spawn of Satan.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, hey, POGDII. I don't know how to say that, so I'm going to call you POGD. First time in chat, they said, clip this, please, while you were ranting, by the way. I don't really know how to clip
Oh.
things. By the way, y'all know we go on our little dips and curves, but I'm saying this on the stream, and I'm putting Dorlin on the spot because I want this to happen. But speaking of clips, hopefully we're going to figure out how to start editing our videos because they're way too long and they're filled with too many and us just like going off the rails and then having technical difficulties. So we're hopeful that we're going to start learning some video editing using assistive technology somehow. Who knows? Maybe we'll stream it one
Mhm.
day, but just a fun little thing that we want to put on your radar because we would like some help with trying to figure out how to video edit while using assistive technology. If anyone just happens to be aware of how to do that, hit us up. I would not be surprised if Xerxes knows how to do that because
Really.
they're a beast. Oh my gosh. And I
Well,
scroll
I need
down
to
and
hit them up for other reasons, but we should also stay on track though, because we were doing really good at that. And so
I'm
this one
sorry.
wouldn't have to be heavily edited.
Xerxes said clips can be done by users. Oh, they can be
Yeah.
on Twitch. You're talking about Twitch. Yeah, I've seen that. Okay,
And
sorry.
YouTube.
Sorry, everyone. All right, moving on. We said, give me an example of when to use ARIA. tabs is something we talked about. Navigation. So I did see someone at the top talk about navigation, having more than one navigation. Why would we have more than one navigation? So we have like a regular navigation with home and like maybe some pages, and then maybe on another area you have another modal that has more navigation within that component or whatever to get you somewhere. So why and how do we use ARIA for that, Graham?
I would answer that, but I will admit I zoned out when you said what you were talking about because I was trying to answer someone in chat. So what would I use Aria for?
If we have two, and maybe you can explain it
Oh, the
better than
nav
I
question
can.
that came up
Yeah.
earlier.
Why would you have
So
two
we've got
navs, and how would you use ARIA to kind of make sure that those two are distinguishable?
yeah, okay. So you could have multiple navs on a page, maybe more than two. So imagine you've got your main navigation on a page, then you've got an aside that's specific to the page you're on because there's a lot of information in a particular topic, and then you might have a footer with loads of navigation elements. So let's say you had those three navs. The problem for assistive tech is they will just see nav, nav, nav in the list along with other things, and that can get very confusing because you also cycle through lists. So it's like nav, 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 and then have I gone through them all? Is there another one? I don't know. By adding an ARIA label, you can differentiate between them very easily. It'll go nav, main, or whatever you want to call it, main navigation, whatever the word is. But please don't say navigation, even though I just said that in your ARIA label. People using assistive tech already know it's navigation because it's a nav element. So you just need to say main or aside or footer or um, additional, whatever it is, whatever you think's a good label for it. Just add the ARIA labels to each of them and it differentiates between them. And that way you shouldn't get any problems with the sort of where it says don't have two links on the same page going to the same place. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of those exceptions when you have like multiple navs because we all do it. We've all got header nav, footer nav, the links are repeated. So everybody breaks that rule. But at least if you put them in nav so you can differentiate between them, it becomes easy because you can even when you're on a particular link, you can actually get the context of it if you really want. Don't know, I'll probably tell you whether she ever actually bothers doing that, but you can get the context of where you are from when you're on a link with, I can't even remember what key combination it is because I don't ever use it.
Hmm.
There
Yeah, I
you
don't
go,
think I
there's
use
your
that
answer.
one either. I do jump by regions though. So I'll use the quick key, and that'll move me between, your uh, navigation region, your main region, your footer. And so if there's multiple navigation regions, it's going to read me the extra text with each of those as I'm skipping by region. And so that is super helpful there. Although I don't know that, link trick to tell where I'm getting something from which region or whatever. Ooh,
Also,
sorry.
to interject a little, just to let everyone know and to do the thing we said we were going to do last time. This time, we will be taking our breaks at the top of the hour. Last time we did 3 hours without stopping, and that was so unhealthy. So we're gonna try to be a little bit more healthier this time and take a break to stand up and stretch a little bit. And I encourage y'all to do it with us if you have the time, and then we'll come back. So we'll take like a couple minute break in about 15 minutes. And that should be how long it takes us to get through the next 5 questions. So, my next question, unless Dorlin, you can think of another example of when you would use ARIA that you want to talk about.
No, I think we hit on them. I liked the menu, like an application style menu, like that hamburger menu, or the tabs, since there's not native elements for those. And then, the label and label by to enhance HTML and our form elements. Those are the big places, as well as alerts. We didn't touch on them as much, but like the messages that we can get, be it polite or assertive. My foggy brain is forgetting the exact name of the attribute there. Live, there we go, the ARIA live regions. Um, so I think we touched on all the places we should use them, though,
Okay.
that I had on my list.
Woven, I think that might be So I get a feedback
Right.
sometimes. Sorry. Auditory processing issues. Sometimes I cannot. I lose my train of thought when I hear myself. Okay. Wolven asks, footer nabs are Why is it doing? Footer nabs are frowned upon? Question mark. I thought I was helping users navigate more easily, not having to scroll up. And I don't know if someone
It's my
answered that
fault.
or
No, it's my fault. In that little rant on Navs, there was a mistake in it. I heard it come out my mouth. I hoped people would miss it, but you're all paying attention, sadly. Look, if you've got two links that point to the same place with the same name on a page, it's no issue, really. I was confusing having links on the same page that have different names going to the same place being a confusing problem and something you shouldn't do. So as long as you're consistent with the naming, that's okay. The second thing is you shouldn't repeat the same link to the same place too many times in like an article. So like if you're saying every time you say HTML, don't underline it and link to it every time. That just becomes very hard to navigate. So it was kind of me processing two things together and then speaking and then realizing that actually in the circumstance I was talking about, I was incorrect. That's the easiest way to put it. I got that wrong and it was a slip up. And like I said, great that you paid attention, and now I'm like, damn it, I thought I got away with that one.
Don't worry, when I
hey,
get my video editing skills down, we'll just insert that little bit into what you said before with the like record scratch and it'll be fine.
Yeah, you two are going to be dangerous once you get the video edited down because you're just going to take me out of context the whole time and make me look like a monster, aren't you? Yeah.
We would not do
you said
that.
it, not us. Yeah, the people come to learn for this stream. I don't know why. Y'all are some nerds, but so are we. So I guess it works out. Okay, next question.
Nerd
What
up.
are for real? What are ARIA roles used for? So we're talking about ARIA. What did we say? Let me not speak uh, wrongly. Go back to my notes. Yeah, just like role equals. So we use ARIA role equals for things. Why would we attach a role to an HTML element?
Are we asking chat still? I don't know if
So
we
I'm
were.
always asking chat. I hope someone's going to answer me. I'm going to give y'all, I like to give you a moment to think about it and not just blurt out the answer because this is a part of our active recall time, including my own because I'm like, what do we use ARIA role for? Let's see. Liz said provide semantic meaning to content. What does that mean though, Liz? Huh? I feel you though. That Xerxes said meep. Careful. Role equals not aria role. Dot aria role equals will actually break.
Yeah, do you know what? I still make that mistake. It's a great tip, that one. The amount of times I find myself typing aria hyphen roll because I'm like, oh, I need to put some, and then I'm like, no, it's just roll. Don't ask me why they did that. I'm sure there's some weird HTML history in it of like roll was in 1.0. I'm sure Todd will probably come up with an answer on that and tell me why. But it's weird that that's like one of the few things that doesn't get prefixed with ARIA, even though it's part of the ARIA suite and stuff.
Todd said like button type equals button, role equals button, aria label equals button.
Todd trolling, by the way. That is not what you should do.
I'm like, By the way, remember our last stream where I had a bunch of stuff just wrong on there? Do you recall that? I just had like just things that weren't like you weren't supposed to use ARIA for it. And this is just like a segue into why I hate AI. So I use ChatGPT for some of the slides to like give me an example of how to use XYZ. And it gave me a lot of wrong examples. So y'all, AI, ChatGPT, whoever you want to call it, they are not up on game on accessibility yet. Like, don't use manually do everything. Ask the people, ask questions, or you'll look like
I,
me.
I can't can't believe you brought up the word, the two-letter acronym, because
I'm
now I
sorry.
have to have another rant that's just as bad as the carousels rant. Look, there's a reason that I would say to people bet on accessibility becoming a more important role, and that's because AI is a great averager. So basically, if you feed it a load of good information, it will take the average of that information, it will spit it back, and it will seem like a miracle. And that's where we're at now. Do you want to know what we don't have a lot of good information on the internet? How to make things accessible. The information out there is wrong. The people who write
Yes.
the articles make mistakes. There's just not good data to feed in. So guess what it gives you back? It gives you the average of crap. Do you know what the average of crap is? Really crap. It's just not good. So yeah, if you want a role that I think is going to be safe for a while, I imagine that accessibility consultant is actually something that will become safer while most dev jobs become less safe. Because AI is going to start spitting out some crap, and someone's going to have to fix it eventually. When companies finally remember that, oh crap, yeah, we have disabled users, we better actually do something. And so, yeah, please, AI is awful. I've tried it several times for anything accessibility related, and it is yet to do anything where I'm like, well, there's hope. At the moment, we're at no hope level. I'm hoping that improves, but as of today, we're at no hope level, other than maybe, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, I'm going to put a lot of caveats on it. The way that V0 from Vercel is implemented potentially could spit out something accessible in the future. It's not now. I want to be clear on that. It has a lot of issues, but because they are using a specific library that has a half decent basis for accessibility and that's all it spits out, it has potential that perhaps in the future that's the way companies could go and spit something reasonably accessible out. But yeah, if I didn't put enough caveats on that, let me put a big caveat of it's not good, but it could be good. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you my old notes. And sometimes sometimes I do use ChatGPT for random stuff, but I do not use it for accessibility like anymore at all because it was just I don't know, it was shocking seeing how wrong it was until I used my brain and I was like, if it's hard for me myself to search for the answers, I'm sure all the answers that it's getting is just all the bad things that we talk about. But since we're talking about role, I'm going to pull up role and we're going to talk about which of these roles actually make sense. Okie dokie. Can't remember how to make this bigger. Someone told me how to do it last time. But here it is. We have role equals button, which someone so lovingly already put in the chat to troll us. So that gives us a hint that that might not be the answer that we actually want, right? So why don't we want to use role equals button?
Because we already have a button.
We already have it semantically within built in for HTML, so we don't have to really worry about that. What about role equals checkbox?
We have that too. I think one thing to note here that with button, like if you're adding role equals button to a div or role equals whatever to it, you're going to have to also add in the components or I'm not using that word right, but you're going to have to build in what HTML5 already has built in for those things. So with your button, your click handlers, you're going to have to go in if you've done role equals button and tell the computer that on enter and on space, I want this to be activated. You're also going to have to put a tab index on it so that you can, tab to it. So it's part of your tab order and an interactable element. And so there's like all these things you don't have to worry about if you just use button in
Right.
HTML.
So the thing we come across a lot is the divs being buttons, but then you can't actually use the button because the only thing they have in there is a click event, like or handle click event handler. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I know someone has a better word for it. Hey, Bob Fornell. But yeah, so
Welcome.
something to think about. If you have it already in HTML, it'll just do all the things that it's supposed to do natively without you having to think about it. But there are some reasons why you would use a div, and we talked about that last stream, I think, for buttons, right? Was there a reason we would do that?
What the
Oh,
the role equal
Graham
button
did have
thing?
one well, not complex, but one specific example of, layering something, I believe, there,
It's
so
very
that if your
contrived.
JavaScript failed. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, to be fair, it's a very contrived example. I think it might cause more confusion than it's worth. So I don't. I thought after people are going to start doing this as a pattern and they're not going to know why they're doing it. And then it's going to turn into the nightmare of a href equals hash that we have everywhere and JavaScript voids. And then they're going to be like, Graham told us to not use a button, instead use an anchor with role equals button. And yeah, no, there is a very specific use case and maybe. I will create an example one day to demonstrate it rather than try and explain it, and then at least I won't say one word wrong and make 100 people go, "Yeah, let's go and build everything with anchors." Yeah, that wasn't the intention.
All right, we talked about roles. When is a good time to use role? Just give me one example for the chat as well.
Role equals role equals tab, right? That's the one we're talking about the most.
Role equals search,
Or maybe not tab.
or
Oh,
is that
that one
there's
is
a
the
native one
one.
coming, right?
There is a
That's what.
native one that has reached enough levels for MDM to say that it's at baseline, I believe, but we're still a bit away. So at the moment, do use a search element with role equals search, and then later remove the role equals search when it finally gets enough traction. Which will be in probably about 4 years because everything moves slowly. Maybe 6, maybe 8, who knows? But yeah, the search element's there. You might as well use it, and then we'll remove our role afterwards.
Okay, so kind of double down on that one for now while we're waiting to get increased support. Use the newer search element in HTML and then also add the role equals search for your ARIA
Yeah,
role.
yeah. As far as I'm aware, because we do have occasionally you get issues where you get duplication of the term being read out, so you'll hear search instead of search. I still think that that's a nice trade-off so that people start using this element and it becomes part of nomenclature for developers and then they're aware of it and then they actually use the damn thing and it becomes part of patterns because otherwise, like many great accessibility things that we have, they don't get used because they've not got quite enough support, so they don't get the support. So then we have this thing where we've got ARIA attributes that nobody supports for no reason other than nobody's used them, so they don't bother supporting them. It's a vicious circle. So I'm saying break the mold, be a bit ahead. Occasionally you'll upset the odd screen reader user who has an up-to-date browser and screen reader and it'll say search, but I think that's a fair trade-off in the world. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah. All right, we talked about roles. Let's talk about states and properties. So how and well, we know why we would use states and properties, so we can talk really briefly about that. Tell me in the chat why we would use ARIA states and properties. What would we use it for? Any way you want to answer that. And then if you're feeling frisky, you can even put like the actual code snippet if you want of how you would use that. Um, but I'm going to let y'all do that in the chat. We'll talk about it. And then we have two more questions. And then we're going to take a break. And then my good friend Dorlin is going to show us what she got with this replit. We're going to try to make something together with HTML and ARIA.
It's nothing super fancy, but we're gonna try it together.
No.
We're just gonna play
Yeah.
around together. It's gonna be fun. I hope we're gonna share a screen reader. We're gonna share Replit, and Graham's gonna share his brain.
Oh, hang on. No. This is the Dorlin show. I'm just going to sit back and relax and just watch you code.
Yeah, right. What are you even here for, Graham?
Supposed to be the assistant. You didn't
I'm
know.
here for the sarcasm. That's what I'm here for. That's what you get the British here for. Sarcasm. That's what we're good at.
Bye, Todd. Todd said they got to feed their cat and take a break and rest. So we'll see
See
you
you later,
next
dog.
time. Thanks for hopping in
Thanks for
on
being
us.
here.
Yeah, I always get really happy when I see Todd's name. All right. So quickly, since no one wants to answer in the chat, what do we use ARIA states and properties for? Give me an example. Graham.
You're being mean today. Right, where the hell don't we have a semantic element that we could? Prime example is if you have a menu on a mobile that pops out, you need to be able to show state on a button of whether that button has opened the menu, closed the button. So we use ARIA expanded for that to let you know whether the thing that a button controls is currently open or not open. So there's one prime example. We don't have any HTML mechanism that actually works for that. And then on that same example, we have ARIA owns or ARIA controls, which tells you when you click this button, this is the thing that I correspond to, I own, I control, I look after, so that people know, okay, that's where I need to go to next, and that's what I'm opening.
All right. Dorlin.
I agree. So these are like the other sorts of attributes we see on there, like and I think that's what they're called properly, right, Graham? Attributes like the ARIA
Yes.
dash expanded or ARIA collapse equals true or false. Those types of things when we're putting those in. I like those examples using the ARIA dash live um, attributes to alert users when something's been, submitted. I love that. I love getting a live message letting me know that like my form has successfully been submitted, which another user is getting probably at the top of their page, but I get that alert. It doesn't move my focus to it, but I know that it happened. Um, so definitely those alert messages. And we did talk about being careful with making sure you're being polite with those or using the assertive ones when necessary. I actually came across one this week, just yesterday. I was trying to buy concert tickets for something and there was a countdown. See, I get excited again on these examples, but there was a timer countdown letting me know how much time was left. And the way it was asserting itself and how often it was making it almost impossible to like finish the form in the amount of time I had to do it. I got it done, thankfully, but the whole time I was like, you guys need to look at your alert messages again. Anyway, sidebar,
No,
real
those
life
are,
example.
yeah, honestly, your real life examples help me understand why it matters and what happens when we don't do it correctly. So I love your examples. Thank you. All right.
And we're on a really interesting one there that at some point I might need to pick your brain on because it's one of the hardest things is notifications. People think it's easy, like a toast notification, but it really isn't. And then you get into the realm of they shouldn't auto dismiss if it's like a save action that can be reversed. And I don't know, and I'm going to have to do the research on what a good pattern is there for a screen reader user, where, there's a notification that says save successfully, and then there's an undo button in it. How do I let you get to that? What's the correct way of letting you get to that undo button and things like that? So it'll be an interesting one because I don't know the proper pattern for it and I've never seen it implemented well.
Hmm. Well, I would be definitely down to help figure out what the best way is.
Cool,
What
that'll
was
be a very
happening
long
last night
stream.
was a lot.
Nice. Oh, I don't know if you're still here, Xerxes, but you probably because you can't see the screen. I switch between scenes to share my screen, and I am not an audio engineer yet, but I am on the road to becoming one. And whenever I switch screens, it whatever setting is on the other screen comes up and it sucks. So I'm sorry. I'm working on it, and we'll get better at it once I don't have a million jobs. uh, let's see. I have one more question that I want to ask before we take our break. But there are more questions, and I always underestimate how long things are going to take because we all have such wonderful things to say, both on camera and in the chat. But this one is a good one. What's the difference between ARIA label and ARIA labeled by? I love this question because I had no clue at all until we did the stream. Not that I didn't have any clue, I just didn't understand it in the way that I understand it now. So I would love this brush up of what it is. I'm not going to answer. I'm going to let Graham and Dorlin answer, but I'm going to give the chat an opportunity to answer before we give you the answer. So think about it. What was ARIA label for, and what was ARIA labeled by for? Xerxes got it already, but let's see if anyone else. Not saying that you got it right, which you probably obviously did because you're a genius, but
I'll give Xerxes a bonus question on this. Which one is preferable? Which one, if you have the choice between the two, which one would you use? ARIA label or ARIA label by? There's a good one.
And so Graham, you put in the chat another thing I would have to look up myself, as drag and drop is very hard to get right for keyboard as well as ARIA Ec. That is something that's been on my mind because I've been remediating PDF documents, and it requires a lot of dragging and highlighting a bunch of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out myself, like, how would a keyboard user do that? But that's a side note. You don't have to answer. It's just something that's been on my mind. Like little things like that. You know what I mean? Like when you don't have a mouse, you have to think about how the user is going to get to whatever it is. Looks like Xerxes was the only one to answer this. Maybe. Let's see if I scroll up. Oh, no. Liz of course. Sorry, what'd you say, Graham?
Said Liz had, I'm literally saying as you were saying, Liz has an answer as well. And yeah.
Oh, Jam Sorrel also said. Oh, man, I'm getting that feedback again. My bad, y'all. I think it happens when both of us try to speak at the same time, and we're getting a little bit better at those cues, those visual cues. So go ahead, Graham. My bad.
Visual cues. That's not fair, is it, darling?
I'm used to it. No.
So what am I? Are you telling me to go on the rant because you mentioned their thing saying they want to rant on drag and drop, or what were you prompting me to actually go on then? By the way, you just said
I don't
go,
know. I
Graham,
thought you were.
with no
I thought you were saying
context.
something. But let me give context for Dorlin's not reading the chat this time around. So James Sorrell said, I would love a Graham rant about drag and drop. Wow. And we limit Graham's rants to 60 seconds, and then he tells us he's going to take 15, and then he takes 60 seconds. And I love it. Yeah. Like all your rants, they really do need to be made into their own clips and then just sent across the web.
I'm gonna start a shorts channel on TikTok, literally just doing rants on accessibility. Yeah, I think it'll work.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. Truly. Okay, let's get back on track because we got to get out of here and take our break. But yet again, we're not doing it. So, what's the difference between ARIA labeled by and ARIA label? Graham.
Right, so now that's what you're right. We're not doing well today, are we? We normally flow. We're not flowing today. Yes, so first of all, the difference between an ARIA label, you supply the text that you want it to say within the double quotes, the equals. So whatever you set as the attribute value is what that item is labeled as with ARIA label. With ARIA label by, you pick an element that exists on the page. It has to have an ID, has to have a unique ID, because people cock that up and have two things with the same ID on a page, and that causes issues. A unique ID, and then your ARIA label by points to the ID of that item. Or, and this is why ARIA label by is magical, you can point it to several IDs. So it's very good for if you need to do a composite label on something. Sometimes you need to do funny things with tables if you've got a really complicated table layout and can't get it quite right with all the semantic HTML. It's great to be able to say this cell is labeled by that cell, and that cell, give them all IDs, and then you get the label that will reach out the content of each of those text items. So it's fantastic for that. So that's the difference. One is you pick an element on the page, a text element, I might add, on the page, and then you can use that to label something. And it's the preferred one, by the way, to answer the other question that I asked in chat that I don't think anyone actually answered. If you have the choice between, use ARIA labeled by, because you've already got the element on the page, and if you ever change that element, it will keep the assistive technology in sync rather than you having to remember to update things in two places. So use ARIA labeled by instead.
Okay. Um
So Todd,
I'm sorry.
Todd has said, yeah, the reason that Africa's been laughing in the background all is Todd has come back in to say, snuck back in to say Graham looks like he is being held captive and has to film a video so the kidnappers can extract monies from the police. So,
Oh my
and to
gosh.
describe what I look like, Dola, just to be fair to me here, just so that you've got the full context, I'm just sat here in a grey t-shirt, chilling out with you both, with a green screen behind me. Like, if this is what it looks like being captive, I've got a nice computer sat next to me. I've got all these nice things in the background. So, you know, if someone wants to capture me and hold me ransom like this, then so be it. It seems like a nice environment for that to happen.
We would make great captors too, I have to say.
True, true.
All right, friends, let's take a 5-minute break. And when we get back, we're going to pop on Replit. And we're going to end by asking Graham a few more questions about ARIA to close out. And we'll answer all of your questions on ARIA if you have them. So please stick around with us. We'll be here for about another hour. And if who knows if it's an hour, but we're going to aim for an hour. If not a little less, because I think I might run out of gas a lot earlier than usual today. So we got about 45-ish minutes left in us, I would say, or 30. We'll see. All right. So see you in 5 minutes, my friends.
All right. Stretch, hydrate.
Yeah. Literally get up out of your seats and do some stretches. I should pop one of my YouTube videos, my yoga videos in the chat, but I won't do that. All right. Bye, friends. Hello, friends. We back.
Hello.
All right.
Let's
So we are gonna be doing a little bit of a coding demo, kind of, but this one is more like you're hanging out with your coding bestie, and they're just making something random, and you can help us. We'll see how it goes. So this is more of the style of like code and chill stream. If you're down to clown with us. So I'm gonna go to Dorland's share screen and our ooh, I like that. Matt Campo said mod programming. I'm with it. Instead of pair programming, we're mod programming. Man, get that tatted on me, even though I don't have any tattoos. Um, our our sound may change a little bit because of how things are set up. So sorry in advance. Let us know so that we can fix it. All right, so we're on the new one. And
why it isn't giving me the. Well, we're gonna try.
could I make sure the text is large enough, please? Yes, I will try my best.
Exactly, Liz. Liz gave us the definition of mob programming. Mob programming is a software development approach where the whole team works on the same thing at the same time, in the same space, and on the same computer. Yeah, well, we might not be able to do same space and same computer, but you're all part of the team. We're going to build this thing together, and we're all going to huddle around one computer virtually, and then that way at least we can all contribute in some ways, and we'll make loads of mistakes together.
There we go. And then
From Dorland, yeah, Command Plus. Dorland literally knows all the commands.
it's not giving me the share sound option, so I'm hoping once I hit go live it will.
Let's see, I think so. Should work. Okay, there we go. I think all I have to do is just share. I just have to make this big. Full screen.
Are you
And
seeing my screen?
yes, I just have to make the
This is
screen.
bothering me.
That's all. Scroll
And can you
down.
hear my jaws when it speaks?
I can't hear your jaws.
No.
See, all right, let me play around with my
I don't think there's any way that you'll be able to get Jaws to come through because we're using Discord unless you had OBS running and set it as a sound source. So I don't think we're going to get that. Are you able to bring up
Last
perhaps
time it did work.
the visual? Oh, did it? Oh, ignore me then. Sorry, I'll shut up.
But I think she has to do something on her end with it sharing the sound. Because last time she just turned it on and the sound was coming through because I'm sharing
There was a button last
the
time,
capture.
but I'm not finding it now. I don't know where it went.
Discord is quite something else for
Well,
screen readers for sure. Trying to find stuff.
well, guys, we can do it without Jaws. I don't know. I apologize that we didn't have this problem last time.
It's okay. We can see your screen though, and you can talk out what you're typing if that's helpful. So anyone joining us who can't see the screen is able to know what you're putting up there. So show us what you got. Right now I see you have something popped up. I don't know if you can see it. That
Yeah, it's my oops, geez, my replet should be up. I just started one earlier today. I titled it ARIA Fun. And all I started adding in were some regions. I put in a header and a main region. I haven't added anything to them. I was thinking if we had time, we might be able to add a um, application style menu to my header so that I would have a menu button there. But we could start just working on this regular button that I created in the main area. For some reason, when I created this replit, it put the script for the JS down at the bottom, so it's bothering me. I'm going to move that up in a minute because I believe that should be in the head section. I'm not a professional developer, but I think that's where that should be. So I apologize for people who are seeing that and if that's bothering them too. But I just made a button. I also thought we could play around with this button and add roll equals button to it and see if it read twice. But now that my screen reader is not reading for anyone, that would only be fun for me. So we've got this button though, and I figured we would make another one of these buttons, and which right now, for those who can't see it, I've written "buy now" as its name, and so when you get to it, just reads "buy now" button. And I put second one on here because last time we streamed my example from ARIA labeled by was attaching text somewhere to a button so that they don't all read the same thing on a screen. Because oftentimes I will come across something that says buy now, buy now, buy now, or something like that, like add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. And if you're going through it quickly, like you have no idea what those buttons are. And it would be a lot more efficient process if it was labeled by something. So I figured at least we'd play around with label and labeled by on this button a little bit with Graham's help. And um, I apologize for not being able to share my sound, guys, so that you can't hear Jaws with me, but that might be better as we're actually typing this example up for those not used to hearing the Jabberwocky go on in your ear.
Yeah, it's interesting because Heather Dice said that they're not hearing the screen reader at first. And oddly enough, as a musician with a vestibular disorder, I use my hearing to orient myself. Hearing a screen reader for the first time is one of these sessions was extremely disorienting and actually made me dizzy. That's
Oh,
a
I
common
bet.
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. Yeah, it can be so disorienting. I mean, I will have my screen reader playing around my family, and I can feel them getting visibly anxious just because of the rate or that speech. People aren't used to it. It took me a while to get used to it, you know. And so I'll try and plug in my headphones, you know, make. So this is good. It worked out the way it was supposed to. Thank you for that. Um, Good example of why we don't need a screen reader running right now.
All right, last interjection, but probably not. Accessibility
Yeah.
thing. Tell me if you know that this is happening, and this is for everyone else in the chat. Actually, in the chat, if you can see what's on the screen, is there something weird like on the screen that maybe Dorlin doesn't know is on the screen because it's not being announced? I think there's like a modal
Yeah,
or a pop up.
yeah. There's a modal telling you how to use it that's saying code editor, and then it's got a GIF showing stuff, and this is where you write code. It's like a walkthrough thing, darling. So you might need to do a few tab arounds, and hopefully you'll pop into that modal and can dismiss it because it's in the way at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a command for that.
Well, let me pop out of because my focus was currently in the edit box for that. I will go
So
up to the
it's
top.
pointing to the edit box, so I would hope that it's going to jump to it, but you know how these things are, I doubt it.
Well, let me.
And
Oh, now I think I'm tabbing around in there. Yeah.
Now
Um,
the impossible part, how do you get out of the editor? Escape?
I just popped out of it.
So
I've
it's
got these
it's
buttons down
titled
here.
it's titled code editor. There's a back button and a next button on there, and then 5 tab stops. I would imagine in there's 6 tab stops in it. So hopefully code editor is a heading, but I don't know.
I almost got triggered because it looks like a carousel.
Well,
It
there
went-
are no headings on this page. I hate to break it to you.
Oh man.
uh,
Let me hit. We got some unlabeled buttons. Oh, there's a dismiss button. I'm just gonna. Did it go away?
No.
No, you might need to
Well,
reload and hope it doesn't come up again. See, people,
okay.
this is one of those things.
Oh, this is the
So
best thing that could possibly happen
I'm gonna
because now we're
use
showing
F.
how terrible.
That's
Yeah,
true. I'm
live.
gonna try F6, which is a trick to sometimes bring different things into focus. It will basically rotate me into my bookmarks and everything through the browser too. Mm,
I think I need to.
and it is not helping me. Oh, am I in the editor? Yeah. Ooh, can you take control and X out of it? Well, let me see. You said there's a back button on it.
So there's two buttons in there, one that says back, one that says next. I'm hoping those are actual buttons so you can at least get to them with focus with enough messing around. The problem is that the back button and the next button both have a chevron at the beginning, and I've no doubt that that chevron's probably going to announce itself as well, so bear that in mind.
Hmm.
Are you going through something right now? Are you tabbing through something? I see something moving
I
up
was
and
hitting
down.
B for button, hoping
Okay.
to find that. But
Going through tools.
uh,
Are you able to reload the page?
yeah, I just did.
All right, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, now we've got a new thing that's welcoming you to your workspace that's
oh,
popped
there's
up.
a close
Oh,
button.
you've got rid of. Yes,
Nice.
we look like we're winning so far.
All right. So the next thing I need you to do is to press Control plus or whatever the command is to make things a little bigger for us.
Oops.
Yeah, we're looking pretty good there.
Yeah. All right. And
That
then
looks
I'm going
good.
to drag it over a little. Yeah, that's
Is
perfect.
there a
Thank you.
way on so your left you have a left panel that's got your index HTML, script JS, and style CSS in it? That's massive at the moment. Is there any way to try and make that smaller, like a bit thinner?
Oh, I got that covered. I'm moving
Me?
things around in OBS. Yeah, I'm moving things around, Graham.
That's
If
above
can you
my
see
pay
it?
grade,
Okay.
Graham.
Yeah.
Right, don't worry about that one. In that case, can you actually zoom out one notch then? Because Africa's going to make it bigger anyway.
Zoom out. Okay,
It's a little
yes.
squashed. Yeah, super.
Yeah.
Right, Africa, you can correct for that. Right, we'll get there.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I think that's big enough.
All right, so tell us, looks like you have a button on there that says buy now. What are we trying to make and why are we using ARIA?
Well, so here's my main. Here's our button. So essentially what we're going to do is replicate the example we talked about last time, by having two buttons and using a label by element to give those unique text. Unless there's a better, if this isn't best practices on how you would make a button like this, we won't use this example. We can try and make like a hamburger menu or something like that. But
No. Hamburger menu would be too long. I already tried that on stream
I
and it
know,
was
and
like
tab is
crazy.
kind of long too, because you need to, make sure you have all of your tabs set in different ways. It's a little more complicated. So I just want to play around with a button and label by. I was hoping to use the screen reader to show how it would read differently, and maybe even play around with that Braille roll changing things since I've got my Braille reader on my lap too. But for right now, I think we'll just label two different buttons.
Okay, and for
Graham, how's
anyone
that sounding?
who go ahead, Graham.
Sorry. Go
No, I
ahead,
literally
Graham.
said sounds good. It wasn't anything exciting. Don't worry, carry on.
To give context to what Dorlin is making, just so everyone's on the same page of why we would do something like this, a good example would be you're trying to buy something and there's 3 items on the page, and each of the buttons under those items is buy now. So if I'm navigating with the keyboard in a screen reader or something like that, every time I tab, all I hear is buy now, and I don't hear any context about why, like what I'm buying. And if you use ARIA, you can pair it with an ID of whatever that item is. So it can say shoes buy now, pink shoes or whatever buy now. So that's our context.
All right, so let's see. So while she is talking, did I think maybe Replit is messing me up here, adding some extra spaces for me. I don't know what I'm doing. But I now have 3 of my buy now buttons. And then I am going to, well, no, I can't show my screen reader. So if I ran this code though, each of these buttons as I tab to it would just read buy now. So on our first button, and I do apologize for folks, in terms of a developer, I am not. I just mess around with it. I've learned some. So I know my tabs, like how my layout for my code probably looks like a blind person wrote it, but hopefully when we clean it up with their editor thing, it'll look a little better. But
It's
so let's
typically
make.
when it looks great.
Yeah, it does. It's doing it for you. Don't tell on yourself.
All right, I don't know how it's gonna fill this in, but let's add a H1 since it wants us to do that.
Oops, sorry. You guys can't even see that.
Why didn't it put? Well,
I think I got to make this a little smaller.
let me make sure I remember how to do this. This is.
There
Oh,
you
just move
go.
it up and down, Africa. It'll be absolutely fine. You'll have to keep just popping up and down.
Yeah. Dorland's Accessible Emporium.
Did it add that for me?
It did. It's double closed your H1 for some reason.
Yeah, that's weird.
I tell you what, I like manual editing. I'll get this down though.
Oh, because it's doing it for you. Got it.
I think yeah.
Used to
I thought it was
notebook.
just gonna.
It's a shame people can't hear you because obviously can't hear your screen reader because it's very evident of like where you're trying to identify where characters are going character at a time and things like that. But that's only because I know what a screen reader is probably saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can get that sometime.
All right, so now let's get us an H2. I don't know what it's doing. I don't want it to add anything for me. All right, so let's see. In my emporium, we're gonna have 3 different things. We're gonna have um uh tank figurine.
And you don't have to
Is it?
close it.
So when so by just by pressing less, I probably messed myself up there then, huh?
Yeah, just delete that, and then you're gonna, you're gonna read your own thing and see what else you have to fix.
Why is there a W here? I don't understand that. It put that in there for me, right? I never hit greater. All right, whatever.
I think
All
it
There's
was
right,
a
so now
also
I gotta
typo.
buy
You
now.
got
it's in the opening as well, by the way. You've got HW.
Oh, I
yeah.
did do it.
Mm-hmm.
User error. Alrighty, guys. We're doing it. We're doing it. Where am
Did a
I?
good one.
Looks
This is
good.
super
Yeah.
interesting. So autocomplete is causing you more issues than it's solving then on
I can't
closing
stand it
tags.
right now. I just want to do something simple, but it's okay. We're gonna figure it out. All right. So,
Getting you ready for VS Code.
all right. So I finally got my H2 corrected. We've got my tank figurine. And then I should put some text in here, but we're going to save that for, my tank figurine. We need an ID for him. Oh my gosh, the way it's. All right. I'm really trying to figure out how to. All right, so here we go. Here we'll put our ID, right, Graham?
Yeah.
Oops, not plus. And then we can call this. I think I gotta. All right. Tank. So we got an ID. And then on our button here, now I need to put my ARIA label by in my tag with my button here. Oh, not
Now I'm
plus.
just wondering if the screen reader use the pop up. Does it like tell them that
Equals.
that is there?
Is this correct so far, Graham? And here, am I just going to put tank?
You're missing one L in labeled by, but you're spot on otherwise.
And I do need the quotes around tank, or did I?
No, you've done that. You've done everything. It's just
All
ARIA
right.
labeled by. You've put one L instead of two in the middle.
There's another able. What?
But
There's another
labeled is
L here?
LA. Yeah, it's double L in labeled. LABELLED by.
Mind blown. I guess I haven't flown that down. I didn't know there was two L's there. Okay.
English for you. It
I
doesn't
was
make
gonna
any
say,
sense.
did you British one do us that way? All right.
Yeah, it'll be a
All
British
right.
one, and you Americans haven't
I'll
ruined it
tell you
yet by
what, I'll
removing
trade you color back to spell label correctly. Jeez. All right. So we got labeled by. I think my autocomplete is trying to mess me up here again.
it. Is. I
That's what I
think
was
escape will
wondering.
close that.
It's
Can you hit run so we can see what it looks like so far?
but I know I already have an error here, right? Because it says labeled by. Shouldn't be Aria dash?
Ooh. So that's interesting. It's dropped onto two lines, and I'm guessing that's something to do with how the editor's presenting it to you. So either there's a space there between aria, hyphen, and labeled by, or that's just it's dropped it onto the second line because there's not enough space because you really zoomed in, and that's made it weird for you.
Okay, well, let's see. Guys, let's head over to run. There it is. It's above the code editor, of course. All right, so I think it ran.
It did.
Yep.
Oh, let me use.
And
I should have headings on this page now, guys, because I put them in myself. Ah, Dorland's Accessible Emporium, heading level 1. I'll hit H again. Tank figurine, heading level 2. I'm going to arrow down. Oh, now it says tank figurine button because my labeled by did that override my buy now?
It did.
do they not have
I
focus
see.
indicators on this?
And so now I have two buy now buttons underneath that. So I have a tank figurine button, a buy now button, and a buy now button. Cool, let's fix this. I don't know. Are there no there's
Yeah. So
visual
for
focus
Africa's
indicators?
question, you're in like a cursor mode, aren't you, darling? So it's like a virtual cursor that isn't the same as a focus cursor. So we don't see what you have selected at the moment.
Oh, let me shift tab.
There we go. Now we see focus indicators, but obviously we won't see that you're on the H2s and H1s. There is a setting in JAWS, but I don't know what it is to be able to show visually
I
what you're seeing basically.
I guess my JAWS is always on that setting because I've never not seen it use
Yeah,
like
as a sighted user, I'm the same. I have to have that setting on, but obviously,
All
all right,
right.
this is awesome.
So,
I have a
okay,
question,
so let's go
Dorlin.
back. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you read can you read what your screen reader is reading when you go through that? I don't know if I wasn't listening and you already went through the buttons.
Through the code that I just created and how it reads.
Know how it reads on the rendering side when you arrow through it or tab through it
Oh, in the code editor. Wait.
on
no,
the side where it
what
shows.
you're getting back from your screen reader, basically. If you tell us what we can't hear your screen reader, tell us what your screen reader's saying when you're on stuff, so that we get a feel for what you're experiencing.
Okay. Okay, so down where I just rendered my code, I have that heading level 1, like I said,
Mhm.
Dorland's Accessible Emporium. I'm pressing H, which is a quick key, and my virtual cursor to move down to tank figurine, heading level 2. I'm going to tab so that there's the visual focus here now because I'm tabbing to my button. And it said tank figurine main region, but I think that is because I'm in Replit. I'm going to tab to my next button, and it said buy now button. To activate, press enter. I'm going to shift tab to go back to my previous button, and it reads tank figurine button. Press enter to activate.
Oh my gosh, that is literally so cool for some reason.
Right? Okay, so I'm going to go back up to my code editor and add other things to this real quick.
Yes, so there's a really important thing there that people, this is why ARIA
Please.
becomes dangerous. Notice how the button isn't buy now anymore. The button is literally tank figurine because we have overwritten the content of that button with the ARIA labeled by. So this is where people get into trouble because now that button isn't a call
Oh,
to action. That button just says tank figurine, which is useless to someone on assistive tech. They don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it does anymore.
so what should we do, Graham the Great?
Tough one, isn't
How
it?
do I fix that?
So there's a couple of ways we could do it. We could change it to an ARIA label instead, because this time we actually want to completely change what we're saying. Or we can have a an element on the page, and I believe we can ARIA hide it so it doesn't show, listen, make any noise for screen readers, and then we can give that an ID, and then we can use that in all of them. So we could under your heading 2. I think this will work. This is me running an experiment. I'm sure I've done this before, but so if you can add a under heading 2, if you can just add a span or a div, or it doesn't matter what we use here. It doesn't have to have semantics.
Now, is okay, so this is an ID that wouldn't, that's going to say like buy now,
Exactly.
essentially.
So we're going to create an element on the page that says buy now, but we're going to hide it from screen readers, and then we're
Oh,
going to try and use it. And I think it works, but let's give it a go. If not,
Is
we'll
this
use
best
ARIA.
practices?
It it's debatable at this point.
Whoa.
Like
Okay.
you could argue for both. I think in the modern world where we're mainly component based, I would argue that an ARIA label is probably much better for this circumstance because we can build the string and we can use variables so that it always stays in sync. But because we're coding in raw HTML at this point and we're not in components, I would say that
mm.
this is still preferable so that if someone who doesn't know about accessibility comes along and changes tank figurine to plastic ballerina, that our button updates on its own. It's about
Okay.
maintainability, this more than anything.
Mm.
But I don't know if this. I can't remember. I'm sure I've used this before, but I could be making this up. So let's try it and we'll find out. So
Okay.
under our
And
H2, if we can create a div, a span, whatever you want it to be, something without semantics at all, because we're going to hide it anyway.
now, before I do that,
Hmm.
um, just in terms of, I mean, me being a bit OCD about things, even though I can't see the code. If this is a div that I'm going to use for all three of my H2s here,
Yep.
should I still put it under that first H2, or would it be more appropriate to put above all of them?
as we're going to hide it, it can go wherever the hell you want. It really doesn't matter in this circumstance. We just need it on the page somewhere. I suppose
Okay.
for cleanliness, you could put it directly at the top of your main, and we can treat it like it's a variable, basically. Very strange way of doing HTML, but it's fun. I like it.
I wasn't trying to get like strange with it as much as my Emporium might suggest. I was
No,
just trying
no.
to do a straightforward example, but this is all right. Let's put it in here. Right,
Yeah,
One
let's
arrow
let's stick.
down and an enter.
right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put it there. That's under your H1 at the moment.
Oh, you want an H2, right?
yeah, hit enter.
There it is.
So it makes
Okay.
a
Okay, so here we
bam
go, guys.
and then arrow up. Yeah.
All right, we made a div. We did it. It didn't kill us. All right.
So just to jump in, Liz has asked, how about role equals presentation, role equals none to remove the semantic meaning of element while still exposing it its content to assistive technology? You are completely right, Liz, but what I'm deliberately trying to do is hide this from assistive technology because it's like a variable on the page. We want to be able to say buy now, but we kind of don't want that buy now to be something that a screen reader user is going to randomly come across because it's going to be an element on the page. So they'll go tank figurine. The next thing would say buy now, but it would be a div. So we actually want to hide that div, and then we're going to use that div to try and improve our labeled by, so that we can do ID of tank, ID of buy now element, and that should create our whole label. So that's what we're doing here. It's a little bit of an interesting hacky thing we're doing, but it should work. I think we're going to find out.
All right. Um, is that right? Is that how I should put it?
Yeah,
Is it right
whatever we want to call
correctly?
it. Buy now element, buy now text, whatever you want. Yeah, that'll
Should I
do.
not camel case when I'm doing this, or should I? This is just like public.
Honestly, it depends on where
Okay.
what the standards are for where you're coding. A lot of IDs will be camel case, so it's absolutely fine.
Okay, because it'll
Um,
read correctly to me this way, so that's why I do it.
then
I
we'll
don't
do it.
want to be incorrect though for the grader.
No, nothing
Um,
wrong with doing an ID like this.
okay, so how do I now make this into
So you've
uh
got a div that isn't closed yet, so we need to close your div. I think the editor's messing you up a bit here again.
I,
So we've currently it reads div ID equals buy now element. You got double quotes, but then you're into the opening of your button. That's where your cursor currently is on the opening less than symbol, basically. So we need to just close off your div that you're in. Now we've gone up a couple of lines.
I don't know
Uh,
where those went. Yeah, I'm having a hard time moving around sometimes here. I apologize. All right, so right here, I think.
Yeah, so you're in your. So yeah, if you keep no, you're in your button at the moment. Sorry, it's really annoying that. Like I
It
said, it'd be
is
great
really
to hear
moving
what
around weird. There must be a way to turn that off. I'll play around more with it. When I was just making a button in the main regions, it wasn't that obnoxious.
I
uh,
think what's happened is you started your div on the same line as the button, so now it's all squashed together. So if you go up from where you are, I'll just give you like the number of characters, and then we can get you into the right place. So
Um,
up, up arrow,
yeah, and
that's so weird how.
backspace,
Oh,
down arrow,
I think we've got ever so slight delay
down.
as well. This
Yep.
is
you know, I also think.
right. You're in your div. You're at your ID. Super right. Keep going till you
Yeah,
get
you
to
got
your
it.
closing double quotes. Right there. You need to close your div. Nope, you've gone to. You're in your
Oh,
button now. That's where
I
it's got
got you.
confusing.
All right, there we go.
Nearly.
Hmm.
You've
Did I
so
get it
your div is
wrong?
closed because it's auto completed for you. It's really annoying. Do
Oh,
backspace 4 times. I'm
dang.
literally gonna have to give you the characters. Right, so that's now
This
nearly
is why I
there.
like Notepad, guys. Notepad for the win. It doesn't think it's smarter than me. Anyway.
Yeah, we should have done this. Yeah, we definitely should. We might have been able to do it in CodePen, but we'll work that out then for the next stream. If you go back like 6 characters, so you've got your closing, your /div element. Go back one more. Right, so now you're at your double quotes, but we've not
Hmm.
closed that opening div yet. So you need to go after your double quotes and close it off.
Oh, right here.
Yep, there we go. And then we just need to type in there by now, and then we're set.
Okay.
Super. Right, we
I
have it.
hesitate to move anywhere. Okay, so now we're going to go down to the button and add this ID to it as well.
Yep.
All right. And I have to say, I think I'm messing myself up with my use of my home and end keys here. All right. So here I can just put another ID, right?
You don't need the double quotes again. You do them all in the same set of double quotes. So one more backspace because we've got 2 lots of them at the moment.
Oh, I just deleted a K. That's not what I want to do. All right. So
So add
here.
a space. Yeah, so all you do is add a space
Oh,
and then your buy now element.
okay.
Right, let's
Cool.
give that a test before we add ARIA hidden because I have a feel this will definitely work, and then we can add ARIA hidden and see if it doesn't work anymore.
Oh, that's for. Oh, sorry. Say that again, Graham. Are we running this now, or are we
Yeah,
adding?
let's run it as it is now. We've got one step left we need to do as part of this test, but let's run it as it is now because this should definitely work and demonstrate what we were talking about with labeling with 2 elements. So for the chats, while we're running that, for the chat's benefit, so we now have, effectively, we've got the H2 is going to be the first part of our label, and then the div we created is going to be the second part of our label. And if all goes according to plan, it should read them out one after the other in the order that we've defined them.
Okay, so I just reran it. So I pressed heading to get down to my heading level 1, my Dorland's Accessible Emporium. I'm going to tab to my button now. I'm going to tab and shift tab. And it now reads tank figurine buy now button. Woohoo.
Hey,
Amazing.
yes. That was so
All
cool.
right, so that's awesome.
So, as chat's pointed out, we haven't ARIA hidden our div yet. So, if you'd been
Hmm.
cursoring round, you'd have heard that by now in the
You know
div
what?
that we
Let's go cursor now. So if I
yeah,
cursor down, I'm at Dorland's Emporium heading level 1. I'm going to arrow down. I hear my heading level 2 tank figurine, arrow down again. I hear buy now, but no button, no role associated with it. Yeah, so that would be confusing. And then I'll arrow down again, and I hear tank figurine buy now button.
yeah. Also, visually, we are seeing the buy now text. So, we're also going to have to fix that while we're at it as well.
All right. So,
So, we're going to have some fun here. We've made this very complicated, but this is an interesting one for everyone. So, I think we should still run on. I think the answer, if anyone in the chat is, use ARIA label in this scenario. But we're on this mission now, so let's complete it. It's good fun. And we can demonstrate a couple of tricks here at
well, I
least.
was gonna make one of these other buttons into another product. We could use just label on that one
Show how
too.
much easier that is,
But tell me
definitely.
where you want me to go.
So can you go
Yeah,
back to your editor and get to our
I'm
div
there.
with the ID by now element? Out of
All
interest,
right, I'm at
does it
our
does it
div.
does it read line numbers to you or not? I'm intrigued.
No.
No. Okay.
That was one of our
Super.
gripes
So
about this.
yeah, because normally I'd tell you to jump to line 18, but the fact it doesn't tell you what lines they are is useless then.
Uh,
All
So
right.
after our ID, we're going to add an attribute aria hyphen hidden.
Every time I hear completions list, it makes me flinch.
And then equals,
Mm.
double quotes true. And then save that one. So I think we're going to rerun again, so it won't change visually for us, but hopefully for you as a screen reader user, we now have something that still works, but we'll soon find out.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, so Liz in the chat has pointed out we're going to do a visually hidden class. Yes, exactly. So this is like the
Mm.
opposite of ARIA hidden. I'm intrigued. Does this? I don't know the answer to this. We're about to find it out. I think this works, but I could be completely wrong. I'm sure I've used it
All
before.
right. Well, so I'm down in my area. My heading level 1 is red. When I arrow down, my heading level 2 is red. And then when I arrow down again, I'm straight on my tank buy now button or tank
And
figurine buy now button. So it has my assistive technology has ignored that buy now. But do you guys see it?
we still see it, so we
Yeah.
have to hide it. But the
Okay.
beauty is, even though it's hidden from the screen reader with ARIA hidden, we're still able to access the information in it for our buttons. So we now have that we can use in the other ones quite happily. So I was worried that if we hid it from a screen reader, it might interfere, but it obviously does not.
Okay.
So visually hidden class. These are a nightmare to write. So perhaps if I grab some code and stick it in the Discord rather than you having to try and write the whole thing, or I can link you to somewhere with an example class because they are a pain in the backside. Much easier to copy
All
paste the
of that
code.
sounds crazy to me right now. But go if you want to try and drop a link, I can try and take that. I apologize for making this example more complicated than it needed to be.
You
Um,
didn't though.
No, no.
but it is fun figuring out what's going on and knowing what replaced what. Let's see. While you find that, am I in my code
I've
editor?
got the
No, I'm
link.
not.
Where would you like me to put it? Where's easiest for you? I can put it in Discord. I can put it in the Twitch chat. Wherever you want.
Oh, I'm not in Twitch right now. Go ahead and put it in Discord.
Okie dokie. I will put it in the Twitch chat as well for everyone so that you can see which example I've shown. I just grabbed the one from the accessibility project. It's decent enough. I do have some very old school gripes about a tiny thing in there, but it's so tiny nowadays it doesn't matter. So within that article there's no heading above it unfortunately, but at the end of the third paragraph there is a code snippet there. I'm hoping is marked up correctly, being the Ali project. It starts dot visually hyphen hidden.
Well, where is your message?
Oh,
I
goodness.
did not expect to
Discord.
have to go grab
Yeah.
code, guys.
Um
Yeah.
I might be able to
Honestly,
just show
I'd
it on mine real
rather.
quick.
Yeah, can I share my replit with? Well, yeah. Can you just put it in the replit if I share the replit with you?
Oh, yeah. Just you can. Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah,
I
let's
don't
do
know,
it that
guys.
way.
Really, I just want to play with some ARIA. I'm not worried about some CSS, but that's the blind girl talking, so don't mind me over here.
Wait a minute. So
Um,
are you saying that we just shouldn't care about others if we don't have to deal with that thing ourselves? Is that what you're telling us? Is that the
no,
message
I
we're
would
spreading?
never say that. We're not. I would never say that. I'm just saying that I thought this was an ARIA study group today.
Fair.
Yeah. CSS is
But a
kind
And
lot.
of
y'all
part of
Okay,
it,
got me
isn't
going
it?
in chats to get some CSS. No, I don't know what's going on actually.
one thing that's important to note is the reason we're using this visually hidden class is it is very useful a lot of the times when because you have to do tricks like this sometimes. You're more likely to do this on if you've got an image icon for a button and then you want to
Mm.
put accessible text in it. This works for everybody. Because like we could use an ARIA label, but those can be funny sometimes in certain circumstances with images and stuff. So in that case, we would hide the icon, the SVG, from a screen reader entirely, and then we'd have visually hidden text inside there that is accessible for the screen reader, but obviously sighted users can't see it. So they do work in tandem very often.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just to
Well, I
hide
think
stuff
it's actually
visually.
we definitely need that. It's really kind of hard for me right now to incorporate that into this because of the
Right,
chat
let's
function on
cheat then.
Discord
Let's
and
cheat. Right, so we are not going to create a proper visually hidden class, but are you able to navigate into the styles.css file?
sure.
So
I
with
don't
it,
see why not if you tell me where that is.
so yeah, so currently you're in the editor panel. It is two panels before that in the order of things on the page, and it's named files.
There it goes.
And if we can't get into it, we'll stick a style tag at the top. It's fine.
Well, these panels, I don't know how they have them laid out for you. What's the let me go see if I can find this file button.
No, I tell you what, let's use a style tag. It's easy enough. We're only doing a demo.
Um yeah, I don't. I apologize, guys. I do not know Replit well enough to get around here well. All
The
right.
worst part is the fact that you're apologizing for not knowing it well enough to get around. I would say that it's Replit's fault for not making things easy for you to navigate. Just saying.
I would completely agree with that, Replit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a matter of mapping out everything, but there were no headings on this page till I added them, y'all. You know, like, um, if I hit region, I can get to the navigation, and then I get to my main region, which I get the I don't know, whatever. This isn't a Replit rant. We appreciate being able to use it here, but I like my notepad when the code I have actually created that is accessible, I have done in Notepad with no help from it filling in things.
We should also try CodePen next time for examples like this because CodePen is better. It's not great, but it's usable with a screen reader. So CodePen is probably our best bet in the future.
I'll try CodePen
Okie
next time.
dokie.
Cool. So Dorland,
You do
we
that.
are kind of chilling. We're not on a time crunch, and if you need extra time, it's totally cool. But if you don't feel like doing CSS because that wasn't part of the plan, that's totally fine too. I think the point of just talking about CSS is just noting that if you're using ARIA, the odds that you're going to be using CSS or JavaScript with it to do something, to hide or create something, will happen. But right now we're just doing HTML because A, we're lazy and tired, and B, we didn't plan for that. And navigating on Replit, while it's usable, is kind of difficult with the screen reader, especially when you have to map out in your mind like where things are. And I can tell that it looks like you might need to like tab up into, I don't know if that's a link or a button. That's the thing. But next time I'll grab the URL of your Replit or CodePen so that I'm in it with you and I could just do the heavy lifting on anything visual that like I could click on really quick and like drop things in, and then you can mess around with it. But that's something good to know for the future, because we'll be doing a little bit more coding, and it's hard to be put on the spot. I'm glad it's not me today, because you know me, I'll be flustered and sweating. So I think you're doing really cool. This was really cool to look at. So, Dorlin, how are you
Well, this
feeling?
is
I
another one
know.
of the. How am I feeling?
Well, what were you gonna
I'm
say? This is another
I'm
what?
feeling, you know what? It's my turn to rant, guys. This is why accessibility matters. This is why usability matters because everyone needs to be able to get the things they want to get done. And not everybody is always at the top of their game. You know, like today I am on like the the max of the sickness I've got going on. I've been working for days, and I'm here and I want to be here, but like I don't have the brain power I normally have. But like to not be at 100% puts me at such like I'm over here like crumbling. That's why Africa and Graham are like, oh, they don't, you don't need to do this. It's fine because it's so much stress. It's so much having to do these accessibility Olympics, no matter what assistive technology you're using. And if your stuff's not well usable, someone is gonna give up and walk off in anger or gonna get not get their work done. Accessibility is really just so important. It's crazy. And I'm over here getting frustrated with not and it's partly frustration with myself because I need to learn these things better, and once I do I'll get around them more easily. But the fact that you just can't intuitively get around them, and I'm on the struggle bus so much here. I think it highlights why we are all here actually pretty well. So that's it.
Yeah.
Rant. That's all the energy I got for the rant. But I am happy to be learning this as we go. It's pretty cool to see how the code, that you can actually get your code to populate right there. My screen reader's reading it as it should, and we've got some buttons and some crazy labeled stuff.
I also want to add to like just for anyone watching us, a few people have joined us, a few new people it looks like. Um Even like when we're doing live coding or we're doing live testing or we're Dorland's navigating around with the screen reader, I think it's helpful to I don't want to watch you struggle, Dorland, because I love you. But it is helpful to see how whatever is happening is impacting like your experience, because we talk about it a lot, but like to see you trying to get out of a component and get into another panel and how hard that is, it shouldn't be that hard. And I think you are putting a face to, you're humanizing accessibility, because I think people kind of roll their eyes a little bit. They're like, oh, who's using a screen reader? Who's using assistive technology? And it's like, man, humans are, and they want to use things just like you do. And you're way more technically savvy than the average assistive technology user. You're sitting here coding, you know what I mean? Like, that's wild. You're doing things that other people can't do. Like, regardless, like this is like really cool to see. But also the fails are a learning example for everyone. So I think we pretty much got like what we're doing, how to use a button, how to make it. We know how we would use CSS. And next time we'll be on this together, co-doing it. And we'll probably, if anything, share the URL with the chat. And hopefully no one hacks us. They wouldn't be hacking us. They'd just be hacking our code, I guess. But I don't think anyone cares enough to get on our accessibility stream and hack the code that we're working on. But how are you feeling? That's what I wanted to ask, because I know you said you only had like 30 minutes left in you. And I know we get kind of weird with the stream with how long we go, because we end up getting like feeding the energy and going longer. But I wanted to do a check-in with everyone here, see how they're feeling, if there were any questions, and if anybody in the chat wanted to share some stuff. I also wanted to read some of these comments because people were commenting as you were doing your coding stuff. And Xerxes specifically said, I saw, because he's back and he's watching, and he asked if did Dorland take over the world and make an AI whatever, like did she code an AI thing? And he said CodePen is a mess. And didn't you say that too, or was that something else?
You and I
Yeah,
jumped on CodePid one day and tried, and I had a harder time than I did when we jumped on Replit. We did both on a trial run
Mm-hmm.
one day, you and me in Africa. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's interesting you say that because I found that Copen, at least I find that there's regions that make sense and things like that. But I'm casual, so it's interesting that if you do find it harder, there are probably things that, as a casual screen reader user, which is the only way I can really describe myself, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
a professional screen reader user, like I only use it when I need to rather than every day, that there's probably things that you do that perhaps I'm not aware of, or aren't part of the way that I tend to use it, that mean that it's hard for you to navigate because it's missing something. It's certainly from the conversation something I want to revisit and actually have a look at because I don't have a good answer, and I don't like not having good answers to these things of where I can send people to fiddle with code. The best one, I'll shut up in a minute, but the best one I was thinking about this as you were working through that is Free Code Camp. They are very good at accessibility stuff in the scheme of things. You know, they try hard, but they had a brilliant one where their their code box where you could do, you know, practice your code examples. The way out of it was press the escape key. Makes sense, but it jumped you out of it before the code box, so you could never get to the bit after the code box, which was very funny to me. It was like, right, you thought to make it so that people can get out of it, but you dropped them out of it before it and offered no way to skip it, so the next time they go straight back into it and they're stuck in a loop. So it was
Mm,
accessibility's hard, people.
It
yeah.
is.
You
We
know, I
use
did
free code camp.
the yeah, I did the
Yeah.
HTML free code camp. After I did the first course I got in web development with the like web accessibility um, emphasis, I took the code free code camp course on HTML. And really, I thought the editor was cool. I enjoyed going through
Ah,
all of
there's
it.
something that I
But when I
needed to
got
say there. You're completely right. For people who are just keyboard users, not assistive tech. So like if you're a tabber, if you're someone using tabs, you're screwed. But if you obviously with assistive tech, you can jump in many ways that they can't. So that's probably a key bit I missed. You're right.
Well, you know, I wasn't even bringing that. So that's a good point that just came up naturally. But I ran into a wall with them because they wanted you to do your final projects for each of their courses through CodePen, which at the time was, I don't know where it's gotten now, but at the time it put a very bad taste in my mouth. I couldn't do it. I ended up doing the course to complete it on my own in Notepad, rendered it on my own, graded my own self, and, you know, went on with things. But I do really think their course for HTML was good and accessible for a screen reader user until you got to the end and had to use a different platform.
That's such a shame that they'd send you off platform. Maybe they'll be able to work around that one day with enough resource.
You know, this was a few years ago. Perhaps it's changed now. I should do my due diligence and check back. But that's the thing with checking back, guys. You know, make it good from the beginning because people don't always check back, you know? um, just a
Um.
tidbit.
All right. So, Dorlin, are you?
Yeah, what's your
Did
chat?
you want to
I'm
show us
doing
anything
okay.
else? By the way, Xerxes said they're doing a stream tomorrow on Icy Null, uh, covering VS Code, Replit, and code spaces from a screen reader perspective. So if you don't make it, what time? By the way, Xerxes, if you're still here, tell us what time that's at because
Probably
I
3 p.m.
absolutely will
Eastern.
come.
That seems to be his standard stream time.
All
I
right.
will
Well,
try and get on work early tomorrow so that I'm off and can come join the fun for that. That would be
yeah.
good.
And Xerxes, are you Florian? I've just realised that I keep
Yes.
seeing you in the chat and saying great stuff, but I don't follow
Xerxes.
you, so I just want to check. If you're Florian, I've finally followed you on
You
Twitter now, so
should
I can
do it.
stay in touch.
I
Korean's
Oh,
believe you were
magical puppy
trying to
powder.
hawk some puppy powder on our last stream, so I thought we'd put that in. Let me see. I'm going to put another H2 and we can create one more label here. It reads so funny because it's putting on different lines. Where'd my third button go? I thought I had 3 buttons that I was going to put H2s on top of. Well,
you,
Africa, your
you
cat plants will have to
you do still
wait
have three
for
buttons. I
me.
think where it's completely messing you up is that your div, the div that we put in, and your first button are squashed together. They're not on separate lines, and I think that their editors causing some weird stuff to happen for you because of that. So that whole block there is a div and a button that you're in now.
And I am
I'm
running out
so
of gas,
confused in
my
this editor,
friends.
y'all. It is nutty. All right, well, that's fair. Well, we played around with some. We should put just a straight label on one of these, but we played around a little bit in a code editor, which is what we promised to do. So we did, and we reviewed ARIA, and we'll be getting into forms next. And then after doing that, we should circle back on ARIA anyways, because that's one of the areas where it
Hold on. Did you say you were doing something
is,
specific? You wanted to do an ARIA label. Is that what you're about to do?
you know,
Sorry, I lost
necessary
you.
to use it and use it well. Correct? After we did forms and had all our like stuff straightened. I did want to.
I think you're glitching on me, but I
Well,
don't know if
sorry
it's just
guys, my
me.
audio got real weird.
Yeah, you dropped for a second there, but I think you're back with us now.
You there?
I am a glitch. I think
Yeah,
so.
you
I don't
glitching
know.
out over there.
I identify with glitches. You know what? I hear my fan running hard. It's like it's got Discord, it's got whatever I'm doing on Replit, it's got Jaws. Ah, y'all, I think the struggle bus is
You did great though. I definitely
about
learned
to
at
make its
least how
last
to do
stop.
this. Can you verbally tell us? I think yeah, our computers are doing a bit
Mm-hmm.
much right now, but tell us what the difference would be between using ARIA label by to tag this and just using ARIA label.
The ARIA label is just going to grab straight from the label that I put in the tag down there. So let's put a label on Graham's puppy powder here while we're in here, right? I think I still am. Okay, so I'm on the button in the code editor underneath my heading level 2. I'm using my laptop keyboard instead of my other one for some reason. Okay. Okay, so Graham,
Oh, we're losing
Oh
you again. If you...
man.
for our button,
It's over with. It might be just my
You know,
computer
it's been a
just
good.
protesting. Oh
here
my
No,
gosh.
you're fine. It's
for our
definitely fine.
label. I want to add it. I don't hear anyone. Maybe you've lost me. Oh, I hear you
Darling,
guys now.
no. Okay,
I hear
yeah,
you now.
you're losing connection. And you're also like sharing and doing a bunch of stuff. So we didn't hear anything you said. Um,
We can see what you're doing though, so
Oh,
we can
yeah,
see you've
we
no.
got
can
your
see.
ARIA label.
Well, do you hear me currently? I'll stop messing around. So I was trying to add a label onto this second, well, I guess it's the third button, but this other
Hmm.
button right here, instead of using the ARIA labeled by, use ARIA label,
Hmm.
and was hoping that if Graham could hear me and I could hear him, he could help make sure that I do this correctly.
I can hear you now. So I currently see you've got ARIA label equals, so you're in the right places. We just need the double quotes and then whatever you want to put in it.
And now, is this going to override my buy now?
It is. It will behave exactly the same way as ARIA labeled by. So yeah, it will override the buy now in it, and it's something that trips a lot of people up because it's not documented anywhere that it will override the contents.
That's wild.
The bit that's very interesting to me, because it's funny, I literally had this conversation today and I didn't have the answer, I've not been able to get on a screen reader, is if you're still able to get to the contents of the button somehow. If you're aware it's there, that's what I'm trying to work out. So, like, you wouldn't know that there's content in this button, but say you did know, are you able to use some clever way with the cursor to get into the button text is something I'd be interested to find out, to be honest.
Hmm.
So
Okay,
yes, we
guys,
So
currently
I'm
have
running
ARIA
away.
label. Yeah, and we've got an ARIA label that says Graham's Magical Puppy Powder buy now.
Okay, guys, so I'm gonna hit my. I just ran the code. I'm gonna press H to get down my H1. I guess I could be hitting Q to get to my main region on this since I hit up the main region. Anyway, I will now tab, and I landed on Tank's figurine buy now button. Then I tab again and I land on that buy now button that I haven't added any labels to. And then I land on Graham's Magical Puppy Powder buy now button.
So I'm
And
intrigued. Is there any way for you to get to the text of that button, do you know?
Hmm.
If you read character at a time now, does that just read the ARIA label, I presume?
It does. When I start going character by character, it starts with G for Graham's. Let me see if I bring up a list.
oh my gosh.
Of buttons.
I'm pretty
It
sure that in your list you won't have a chance of finding it. That'd be interesting if you can, but I don't think so.
Which one?
So it's the Graham's Magical Puppy Powder, or
Yeah,
the
it's right
tank one.
there.
Yeah, but can you get to the buy now text? The fact we've got two lots of buy now makes it difficult. But I'm saying that the ARIA label's overriding what's inside it completely. And I was
It
having a
is
discussion on whether you can ever get
for
to what's
me.
inside.
Mm. Mad Campos
That'd be
asked
a
a really
question for
compelling
Xerxiax.
question.
What's up?
They want to know, is the puppy powder made of ground up puppies?
It would not be sold at Dorland's Accessible Emporium if it were made of ground up puppies.
Oh,
Bye,
you might
Heather
have to remove
Dice.
me from your shop then. I gave a different answer. I said, of course, that is the best kind of puppy powder.
You didn't read the fine print in our contract,
No, I
then,
didn't.
Graham.
No.
You
Oh,
are notorious for this.
I'm pretty sure Graham has like some type of crazy video you did like a couple years ago or a year ago where you turned into the devil. Do I remember that? Was that the
no,
fever
you remember
dream?
correctly. Yes.
Graham the
Yes,
devil.
so for
Does it have
context,
audio description?
you know what? I half wrote the audio description and I got completely sidetracked and never did it. So I will hold my hands up and say no, I did not.
The fact that you did it at
Ooh.
all, while doesn't help anyone, is still commendable.
One of the thought that counts. E for
No,
effort.
no, sod that. No, I'll hold my hands up on that one. And I even said I was going to do an audio described version, and then I never did. I know what it was. It was I'd never done audio description before, and I went down a rabbit hole of learning about it, and then forgot why I was going down the rabbit hole, and then never actually did the thing. So I know why it happened, but there's no excuse for it. You know, if I'm preaching accessibility, every single one of my images has alt tags, so alt text. So I win there, every single one. But I failed on that.
All right. There's, you never know. Still time. Audio description is an art. It truly is. Trying to figure out what to describe and how to describe it for people and to do it in the amount of time that you have in the break between whatever content you had, too.
Well, there's no break, so this is worse. It's an audio. It's music, so it's me doing things in time with music. So it's nigh on impossible. I would have to pause the music and drop things. That's like I said. That's why I went into a rabbit hole because it's an interesting one.
Mm,
Yeah.
But
see
we've
that.
gone on a tangent and we're trying to wrap up.
Yes.
And I think the key thing
Yeah.
that people need to take away from this, and it's really important, is if you stick an ARIA label on something, that is what assistive tech is going to hear, and everything inside will disappear unless it's interactive. So if you have the reason this came up today was someone had a button that had an image in it and had some text in it and loads of other things, and then they just added a label that just said X button, whatever it was, because they thought that the stuff inside was still reachable, and it wasn't. It disappeared entirely. So that's the bit that's really important to know: is your label needs to be all the information that is required for that interactive element.
Yep.
That's a good point. That's cool. I was going to go back to this other button and just put a different label on it that didn't have buy now as part of it and have it just delete it. But yeah, we're wrapping up. So, what else in conclusion? Did we have anything else, Africa? Any other questions that the chat had or that you had? Because I
Yeah.
think
So
I'm
chat,
just going to keep playing in the editor while we go through it. But
yeah, I got the screen up. We're just gonna keep the shared screen up for you. But for anyone who's still hanging out with us, first of all, thank you for hanging out for 2.5 hours when we said it was only gonna be half an hour to an hour. But I guess that is our running joke and theme, just like having to figure out the audio stuff. Please let us know if you have any questions. This is the perfect time for us to answer them. We're going to chill out for about 5 to 10 minutes, if that. And I'm going to look to see if I missed anything in the comments. That's really good. And I'm going to give a side note. In my new job, my new role, one of the things that I'm learning and will be doing is audio descriptions, captioning, and general editing for videos for accessibility. And I'm so excited because it just sounds so fun. And I'm gonna learn how to do editing in like Adobe Premiere, and hopefully I'll be using a screen reader with it. So I'm gonna see uh, if it's something that we can use for our streams and editing, and I'll just buy it if it's worth it. But we'll see.
I have a little bit of faith in Adobe. I don't think it's going to be easy at all. I think there'll be loads of roadblocks and it'll be a nightmare. But I have a feeling you'll be able to edit videos in it with a bit of practice and like guidance and someone telling you what's where. Because I feel like they'll get all of that wrong. But I think once you know where things are in it, I think you'll be able to do it with assistive tech.
I think
Right,
you
they're
mean
one
you
of the
have
bigger
faith in
ones.
Africa. I have no one should have faith in Adobe. No, let me not go on it. Actually, we do not have time for the Adobe rant today. Is the thing.
I was just
Oh
thinking,
God, no, not
man,
today.
we're like
Don't get
wondering
me
if
going.
when I learned that Adobe prints the money for the US, I was like, "Welp, there's that. They're gonna be here
They
forever."
don't print it. They
What is
have
it?
the it's like the oh gosh, what is it exactly? It's the 3D like images that are printed on the money. The ink is raised up ever so slightly on the bills, and that like graphic or whatever is run through a special Adobe is made in a special Adobe version of basically like Illustrator or something. I'm probably butchering that. I'm not fresh off the tour like I was when I first shared that fact, so we'll have to
Yeah, they
find the
had
clip of that.
Dorland holding stacks and
Cool.
sheets. Okay.
Hank Sniff Mills. It was great.
So cool.
All right, we had a good time. All right, so I did just go in a random R in my code somewhere because there's just an R showing up down here, guys.
Oh
Yeah, there
yeah,
is.
it's in between your buttons.
Just
Between you do two buttons.
okay, so we got an R hanging out here because I have fat fingers today, I guess, guys, and me and Replit aren't getting along quite well, but we got an R hanging out. And then I've got my button that reads, well, let me tab to it so you guys can see so it's got a visual focus on it, my buy now button that I
No,
just
actually.
tabbed to.
Oh, sorry. No,
No?
I'm looking at the. I'm an idiot. No, ignore me. I was
All
looking
right,
at the
so I'm
stream screen, not the actual us screen.
so
So
many
it's like 10
screens.
seconds behind.
All right, so I was on my Tang figurine screen. That's where I am now. I'm tabbing, and it should say bye now to you guys, but it says hello button to me because I put an ARIA label of hello there. So it's still letting me know it's a button, but it's now saying hello instead of the text that everyone else is getting. And when I use my arrow keys to try and read that. It goes HELLO. And that's it. I don't get any of that buy now or any of the text that's actually there on the screen. So
Like I said, the most amazing thing is this is, I don't think, maybe I've missed it, but I don't think this is actually documented that this is how it behaves, and this is what trips a lot of people up. They think it's additive, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
However, like if you use it on the thing that's really confusing is if you use it on a landmark, like a nav, that's perfectly fine. Everything inside it will still be accessible. But when it's on an active element, it then starts overriding things. So it's very confusing. It doesn't quite behave identically, which is a flaw with ARIA label, if you ask me, rather than anything else. But
it's interesting
Um,
how that is.
JMC said, if you guys want to talk to an expert on audio descriptions, I would recommend inviting Celia Hughes, Executive Director of Art Spark, a nonprofit org that supports art made by people with various types of disabilities. JMC, if you have their contact information, can you send it to me on Slack or wherever we hang out? Oh, I see you put a little
It's cool.
thing here. But if you have a contact
And
or a LinkedIn, that'd be cool. I'd love to at least look at their LinkedIn. Um, and they
another
said,
major source for audio description is the American Council of the Blind. They have the audio description project right now, and they are really making waves in getting um, like former titles that have been put out without audio description, getting them caught up, advocating for audio description, training people up on how to do it well. And then also, they run the audio description awards gala in November each year. So, like, handing out credit where credit is due when people are doing a good job of audio description, both the narrators, the people who are writing the scripts for the audio description, all that stuff. So, I needed to put that plug in there too. But in addition to the the first one shared. Yay for
I
all
know,
things audio description right now, I think.
mm-hmm.
I know we're trying to wrap up, but this is another one of those things that's really hard to get info on. So I'm just taking full advantage while you're here. If I like, we were talking about that video of mine before, so it's a prime example. But let's say you've got something where there's a lot of talking happening back to back and there's no space in it. Would you expect them to like pause what's going on visually and maybe background not, pause the video for a second to chuck the audio description in and then continue with the text with the speech?
I personally would love that. I would love there to be like an extended audio description option for me where going through it, the video would pause. I'd get that audio description going on, know what's going on, and then it would resume and I would hear it, because there just isn't enough time a lot of the times. But some people don't want that. So it would be nice to have that as an additional option. Like, I don't know, in my
That's
perfect
super
world.
interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting. So it'd be like you basically end up with three versions of a video, which
Mm-hmm.
is the standard video, the audio described, but fitting it in where you can with very short descriptions that probably don't give you half the detail you need to enjoy the hard work that's gone into the visuals. You can't picture the same thing because there's not enough info. And then the one where it's going to take 20 minutes longer to watch it, but you're going to get there. It's set in a desert, but they've gone for a very dark setting with like a yellow overlay so that you can start going, oh, I get the imagery. Amazing. It'd be quite interesting, yeah, to have layers.
Yeah, definitely. I could see myself watching movies so many times if I had options like that, where I would want to maybe watch it first, just like with the regular audio description, getting it at the same speed everyone else does, and then watching it another time with it being really broken down, getting all that descriptive stuff in there, and then going back and watching it a third time, having all that in my head. Or even just watching the long description first and then going and watching the one with regular timing and regular audio description. I don't know. It would be a way to allow you to, like, I don't know, really access those movies in the same way others can. You have to take a lot more time to do it, but you'd be able to.
Hmm.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So here's a little. I don't know. For those who don't know who are listening, I'm part of AgWig, which is something that helps. We're writing the next WCAG, basically WCAG 3. And so there's things I can and can't say, but I'm pretty sure I can talk about this. We had a very long discussion on alt text, and one of the things that we were trying to work out if there's a way that we can do it is for an image to have your alt attribute like you would normally would, very short and succinct, and then like a mid-length version and then a long version, so that yet again, if it's a very, say it's a Monet painting, you want loads of detail so you can visualize the thing, but you may also not care about it. So it's to give you the option as a screen reader user that you pop onto an image that says Monet's painting of X, and then you go, "Oh, okay, I'd like to know what that looks like," and you can press a button on your screen reader, and it will give you all the info. We kind of have the tooling for it, but not quite. So it was a suggestion that came up. I'd love to see what people's thoughts are on it because I was all like, "Yes, this would be amazing." But you might go, no, actually, it's bad enough as it is. Please don't add anything else because people screw up alt descriptions all the time.
You know, it's so crazy. Well, now that we have AI though, like I don't want to get into AI too much because like whatever, but having it describe photos for you, like as a blind individual, being able to run a photo through there and have it tell me these details that a human would never give me unless I really pried them for them, but they're just giving me, 200 words off bucks off on this photo, and it's kind of cool. It's neat having that option now, and it's like I think that's one place where AI can come into accessibility is when people really struggle with how to use their words to describe a picture, how to actually write alt text. You now have something that can kind of help you do that. Just,
It's
you
really
have to go
interesting
do
you
it.
say that point as well because. Oh, sorry, were you still talking? I think your audio
No.
dropped for a second. All right, sorry. One of the things I'm in the middle of trying to build and I'm fiddling with, there's loads of AI tools that describe images, but none of them have yet described them in context of the article that they're in. So I'm trying to build one that will grab the surrounding text as well, and then the whole text, and between those things, actually give an alt description that is relevant. Because, say, it's a picture of Donald Trump, in some settings, you may want to know what he's wearing and everything. In other settings, you might be more bothered about what his stance looks like, or what setting he's actually in, where it is. So it's like context awareness makes a huge difference to good alt text, in my opinion. So I'm trying to do that at the moment, but it's a lot more difficult than you think because the web's a mess, and every time I think I've sussed it, someone's page will break the thing entirely every time.
Hmm.
Oh,
That's a cool idea.
that's intense. All right.
All right, friends. I've run out of gas completely. But this has been really cool. Graham will be back for something. We don't know, but he's at our beck and call. So he's on Team Dorland in Africa Web Accessibility Study Group team.
He's our
Uh,
captor. Our
Seriously, don't tell him to
captured.
blink.
We're the captured.
He's lying. He loves it. Um, we wanted to let you know next month we're working on forms. So you're going to see more ARIA. We're going to learn about forms, and I will be getting on my soapbox finally, fully about forms. And so will Dorlin. We're going to have Rachel DeTulio on. They're amazing. They have a bunch of trainings on accessible forms. Just Google them, and like 7 different talks on forms will come up. They're how I learned about accessible forms for the first time and had my big aha moment about why it matters how you write your HTML and all of the good things that go with it. So we're very excited to have them. We'll probably have Graham on a little bit after that. And Xerxes is probably gone now and he doesn't know it, but we're going to have him on too. So he can show us about some cool accessibility coding stuff. So that'll be the second week of June on a Thursday. And then the other time will be just pending. Me and Dorlin are a little busier than usual. We're back in that weird grind slump where we're just hanging on by a thread and we're just coming on here to hang out. and hope that like whoever likes to watch us will watch and learn. But it's gonna be quick, dirty, fun, casual, chill streams like usual. So hopefully you'll join us, learn about some forms. Um, Graham will be in the chat sometimes whenever he can. So whenever you see him, you can roast him about his accent. Even though, of course, you do have the original English. I'll give you that much.
We've had this
All right.
fight. You've lost it several times.
Yes, you're right. Every time I think about it, I'm just like, you win immediately. Liz has put Rachel DeTulio's link in the chat. If you don't know who that is, click on it. Watch one of their, even the first 10 minutes of one of their talks. They're like seriously amazing. I'm very excited to have them on. If you want to learn more about Rachel and you like my YouTube videos, we did a web accessibility chat just like we did with Graham and with Dorlin. If you want to learn a little bit more about them and their accessibility journey. So I'm not going to drop my YouTube link, but if you put in Africa, Kenya, and you're here, you probably already know it. But just go to web accessibility talks. All right. Any last words, my friends, for the chat and for my wonderful guests?
I meant to play around with that ARIA Braille attribute and see if I could mess something up on it, but I didn't look up what the exact attribute was. Otherwise, that's my one regret.
Well, we're gonna do Braille.
Appreciate everyone rolling with me.
We're gonna have a whole like section on Braille, anyways. So we'll do that when we do the Braille stuff. I'm excited for that. Learn Braille with us.
Oh, did you see Africa? Now people have to come back because I really want to know how it behaves.
Yeah.
I don't have a Braille keyboard to play with,
Right?
so I literally, there's no way for me to play with that.
All right, Graham, any last words?
Well,
no, thank you both once again for having me on. It's always good fun, and like you said, we aim for short streams and they end up going on and on and on and on, and we could keep going because that's accessibility for you, Thank you to everyone in the chat. It's been entertaining and informative, and I love how active everybody is on your two stream. It's brilliant. And yeah, thank you, Dorlin, for teaching me some interesting things that, it's difficult when I'm a pretty good screen reader user, but when you're not using one full time, you don't know how many tester habits you've got versus real world habits. So it's always great seeing someone who's a native user to go, actually this is a nightmare, and oh actually this is good, and me going, oh I thought that was crap because I tested it a certain way. So super informative, super interesting, very entertaining, and I always enjoy myself. So thank you. Last time. So last nice thing I'll say to you both, and then I'll insult you all like I normally do.
Oh man, you make a good point though about learning from Dorlin and being a tester yourself. Because whenever when we used to test together in audit, I would be going through something la di da and not thinking it was an issue, and then it would like set. She'd be so upset about something happening, and then I'd watch her use it and be like, "What did they do that?" So that it's really like cool watching you actually use it versus just us like. Our brain just skips over things and doesn't really think about how it actually works because we're both looking at it and listening. So we have two senses that are reinforcing whatever we're doing. So pretty cool. Thank you so much.
Well,
all right, friends.
That's why pair testing is the
What was
best.
that?
I have a British accent, and it has nothing to do with you, Graham. Okay, it's just a thing that I do, and I am sorry about it. It's embarrassing and it's not good. It's because I watched too much Love Island. But anyways, Tanya said, "Love this session. This session was great. Thank you, everyone." James Sorrell said, "I always love QA staff who use a mouse with a screen reader." My Twitch just made a sound. I don't know what that means. One day I'll learn what Twitch does and how to use all the things, but I don't have the time now. So
it's probably our bot announcing us going live or something.
Oh my gosh, it keeps announcing we're going live after we get off. It's just a mess.
Bad bot.
All right, we're out of here. We'll see
Thanks for
you
coming, everyone.
on the second week of June on Thursday. If we can get it, well, no, we will, because Rachel will be here. So I'm gonna force
We're
myself.
locked in on the calendar.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's happening. I think it's
We're
like June
doing it.
14th or something, but we'll make a flyer
I
and
believe
send
it's
it out.
the 13th.
Yes, and if you're not part of the Slack, someone maybe hopefully can throw the link in there. But otherwise, just find me on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever it is you found me to begin with, and ask me for the Slack, and that's where you'll get all the information for everything that we do. So we'll see you soon. It was so good hanging out with y'all. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.